You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Welcome to the program, and this podcast is on all podcast platforms. The Brian Craig Show podcast can be found on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Apple Podcast, whatever podcast player there is, we are on it. Just search for the Brian Craig Show podcast. Okay, so this Biden liberal New World Order should be taking the media by storm. Very little reporting on it. They made a very big mistake, the Biden administration. But it is a holiday weekend. It's the beginning of the 4th of July weekend. And if you watch the news, not only do they have like pundits are becoming like hosts on different shows over the weekend, you can even tell there's a lot of technical glitches going on because the regular tech people are even off for 4th of July. Not that the mainstream media would make a big deal out of this because, you know, they're liberal lovers. But this event happened yesterday in two parts. So let's go through this. First, gas prices are out of control, and Kathy, you give me a hard time today because I don't have the cars filled up with gas, and we have two cars. We have my car, Kathy's car. Well, then our daughter has a car, so we've got three cars in our family, like I think most people do. And gas prices are so high. I have not driven my car all week, and what had happened is my car is a bigger car, it's a small SUV, but it's got a bigger tank in it. Kathy's got a Mini Cooper. And when I went up to Walt Disney World last weekend, on the drive back on the turnpike, I filled up Kathy's tank, and my tank was dry. I drove my car, I think, to the radio station on Monday, and it's like on E. And I haven't wanted to fill my car up all week because gas prices are just so high. And the radio station is not too far from our house, about a 15-minute drive in the morning. And I've been driving Kathy's car all week, and all of our cars are now on E. So I took Kathy's car and filled it up today, and tomorrow I'm going to have the torturous task of filling up my car. And our daughter, I don't know how much gas she has. I mean, this is like, it's crazy. You don't want to fill up your car, but the thing about it is, your gas lasts longer if you fill the tank up all the way. If it's not filled up all the way, it does evaporate in tanks that are on full.
I like to keep, and this is my grandma hammered into me all the time, is never let it get below half a tank.
Yeah,
so that's how I am, and it's too hot for me to go fill the gas. So I'm always telling Brian, please don't let it get below half a tank, please, but this is a constant battle in our house. Because Brian likes to let it get on fumes. He hates to go and fill it up, especially now.
Well, especially now.
And it's hard for me to go. So I'm like, well, if I have to go and take the car somewhere like I did this morning, I had to go to a doctor. And if there's no gas, I'm kind of screwed. Well, luckily, our daughter had gas in the car.
There's enough to get where you're going.
No, there really was.
But I really have been putting off filling up the cars because it's a big expense. Mm-hmm. You fill up both the cars, it's a big expense. Yeah. And I know a lot of
nobody
people
likes to do it.
Relate to that, because gas prices are so high now. So yesterday, Biden was asked, how long are Americans going to have to suffer through high gas prices? And his answer is just disgusting. Here it is. Here's Biden yesterday.
How long is it fair to expect American drivers and drivers around the world to pay that premium for this war?
As long as it takes. So Russia cannot, in fact, defeat Ukraine and move beyond Ukraine.
Okay. Now, this is just crazy until Russia's defeated. Russia, with one exception to the rule that really doesn't count, with Japan well over 100 years ago, Russia has never lost a war. They've never lost a war in Europe. And Russia has been attacked by the greatest powers of the past, Napoleon and his army and the German Nazi army. And they have always been able to hold out for a number of reasons. And, they have a lot of space, Russia, to retreat in. So they do a lot of retreating and wear the enemy down, and the enemy gets so far away from their home base, there's no supply chain, and there's all kinds of problems. So the idea that we've got to wait around for Russia to be defeated, Russia who has never lost a European war,
Well, that's a lie.
means that it's just that's something that's never going to happen. Okay. Now here's the other thing, okay? Why are our gas prices or anything else affected by Russia? Russia, we have more oil in America than Saudi Arabia, right? We have more oil than Saudi Arabia. If we were part of OPEC, we could be the number one producer of oil. When Donald Trump was president, the United States was the number one producer of oil. In fact, a lot of you don't know this. Up through the 1950s, the United States was the number one producer of oil. And then Middle Eastern exploration began after the 50s. And then we had these corrupt politicians in this country that have always been scaling back our oil production. So this idea that we're going to have to pay high gas prices until Russia is defeated in Europe, they're never going to have Russia defeated, okay? They're setting up this new Cold War situation that's going to go for another 30 to 40 years. There is going to be, as long as Democrats are around, there is going to be a nonstop conflict with Russia. I call it the Cold War II.
Well,
is what's going on
They need
here.
an excuse for what's really going on, which I know you're going to get to in a second. They can't come out and tell you the truth, even though they slipped and did yesterday or today. But the real reason is the liberal New World Order that has been a rumor and talked about the Great Reset and all this for years. And now this guy said it out loud. So they've been telling you all along, it's Russia, 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 another Russia. Russia's just the scapegoat for everything. And that's what they've been lying to you about. And then the economic advisor slipped and told you the real reason they won't lower gas prices because they are forcing people into the Green New Deal. They're forcing people into green energy. And it's not going to work because nobody can go out and afford to buy an electric vehicle
It's even more than that. So let me play. This is Brian Deves, and this was yesterday. He is the senior economic advisor to Biden.
Yeah.
He was on CNN. And what happened was he said out loud on CNN what they just are supposed to only talk about in private when they're scheming at the White House. Let me play this. This is Brian Deves, Biden's chief economic advisor on CNN yesterday. And by the way, he was asked about what Biden said about Americans have to suffer till Russia's defeated in Europe. And so he's responding to Biden's ridiculous comment.
The military analyst, the director of national intelligence, they say that this could be a long war measured in years. And I think everybody understands why this is happening. But is it sustainable? What do you say to those families who say, listen, we can't afford to pay $4.85 a gallon for months, if not years. This is just not sustainable.
Well, what you heard from the president today was a clear articulation of the stakes. This is about the future of the liberal world order, and we have to stand firm.
Okay. Now
that's not what Biden said, by the way.
No, this is a
this guy went off script.
No, this is a really fascinating thing that's going on here. Okay, this is the new liberal world order is at stake, and we have to stand firm. Everything that's going on since Biden took over, we've had all kinds of crises, right? High gas prices, inflation, southern border, baby formula crisis, and that's still going on. By the way, there's still a baby formula shortage. All these different things. And what the general thought has been from most of us as we've been talking is Biden's incompetent, Biden has Alzheimer's, whatever. Now we know that all of the suffering that America is going through right now is going according to plan, that this is a well-organized plan by the Democrats that are running America today to bring us down, to force us into what they want us to do. There's food, there's people are losing weight in this country because they can't afford food. And, the obesity epidemic that people talk about is a good sign of America's economic success. People are cutting back on food, not just gas. And they're getting more and more control over people, and they think they're forcing us to do what we want. So this liberal New World Order, this is criminal what they're doing.
Well, it's so
treason.
It is.
It's treason.
And it's so much more. Well, they don't care because they make the rules and they're not going to punish themselves. It's so much more than just green energy, though. You're right. What you said is it's about control. That's what it's mostly about, is controlling the masses and controlling us. And I think what happened, I think this has always been part of their plan since Obama. But I think since Trump won, they've amped it up way quicker than they meant to. It was supposed to be a slow drip. Maybe they had a 50-year plan or whatever. It was supposed to be a very slow drip, I think. And when Trump came in, they got really panicked and they thought the things are changing. He's changing things. He's messing everything up. And now they see DeSantis as a threat to that too. So they're really amping up their efforts now, and they're not even trying to hide it anymore. And I don't know if this guy said this on purpose or on accident. I can't decide, because at first I thought it was a slip, but now I'm starting to think maybe he meant to say this. Maybe this was a very calculated move to start getting to start getting this phrase in the news cycle, to start getting people used to this word. And I'm starting to think that now. This is very frightening. And what I said to you earlier, we were talking about this, is the MAGA movement is really what is holding this country together and keeping our freedoms together. Because if it wasn't for us, because these rhinos are right on board with these guys, if it wasn't for the MAGA movement, I think things would be, we would be losing a lot more of our freedoms and things like that.
Yeah.
With the Constitution, all this stuff.
Now, listen, this was, I don't think he did it on purpose. I think I think he lost himself a little bit, and this is how they talk behind closed doors. We can't get the American people to go along with it, so we're going to punish them, bring them to their knees, and force them to bend to our will. And they feel, they're so sick in their mind. They are so insanely power hungry and of course obsessed that they're right, that when Dee said that today, he didn't even stop himself. To him, well, they won't do what we want, so we're going to make them do it. Democrats have been doing this for a long time.
For the greater good.
For example, they've been doing this for many years in a different way with taxes. If there's something they don't want you to do, they tax it very heavily to try to discourage you from doing it. So Democrats have always been about using their power illegally to get people to bend to their will, and that's what they are doing today. And this, I'm going to say it without question, this is criminal. It is treason. And when the Republicans take over in November, we still won't control the White House. So all we can do when we take over in November with the blue flush and the red tsunami is slow them down and have very high-profile hearings in both houses of Congress, bringing Dees in and say, what are you talking about? What is this new liberal world order that you're talking? These are the kind of things that we have to really get the Congress involved in, because he'll still be in the White House making the decisions, and he's got that executive order pen.
Well, and the thing to keep in mind, too, is the liberal world order is the Great Reset. And liberals have been telling us for years that when we talk about it, that we're crazy. It's a conspiracy theory. That's not true. They poo-poo everything. Well, now we know it's not a conspiracy. Even I thought it was like a little out there. So I stand corrected. But now we know it is not a conspiracy theory. It is definitely true. You have a senior advisor admitting it. I'm going to put a poll up because I'm curious if you guys think it was on purpose or on accident. I'm starting to think he did it on purpose because he didn't correct himself. And I'm starting to think that they are letting the cat out of the bag to try to get people used to this.
You could be right about that, Kathy. These are twisted people.
These terms. Yeah. I mean, everything about them is very calculated and has a purpose. And maybe they figure, look, let's get it out there. It'll be shocking at first, but let's get people used to this term. Like they did that with climate change. They had Al Gore make the movie, and all of a sudden global warming became part of the terminology, part of the lexicon, part of our everyday dialogue and conversation. And I think that's what they're possibly trying to do.
Well, they are very sadistic. They have the same kind of mindset a serial killer has.
Which is control.
Yeah, control. They love control, and they have no empathy. And they don't view they don't view us as people. They view you as groups. Suburban moms, non-educated whites. You hear all these terms they use all the time. That's all you are to them. You're not really a person to them. That's it. Kathy and I have talked about this in the past, not for a while, but I want to bring this up. The original Matrix movie is a movie about the Democrat government. The Matrix is the government run by Democrats, and the people that power the Matrix in those tubs of goo that give the heat, provides it energy. That's it. That's a whole take on the Republican and the Democrats and big government. And we power the Matrix. All they view us as are people who excrete money for them to, through taxation, to do things. Like in the Matrix, people just excreted body heat to power the computers because they had blocked out the sun, remember?
Yes.
And that's what's going on here. We are just organisms that excrete money in the form of taxation so that they can get their agenda passed. Now, I want to take a moment, guys, to talk to you about Mike Lindell and MyPillow. And let me tell you, Mike Lindell has been a strong supporter of everything that I do, this podcast, my YouTube channel, the radio show. And Mike Lindell and MyPillow have been hit very, very hard. We've talked about everything they've gone through with the cancellation from the other retail stores like Kohl's, Bed Bath & Beyond. And those have taken hits. MyPillow has taken hits from that, big hits. But Mike Lindell has not laid off a single worker. And now, a couple weeks back, with Walmart canceling their deal and no longer carrying MyPillow products, this is a loss of tens of millions of dollars a year for the most out-of-the-closet, Trump-supporting MAGA corporate guy that there is. There's no one at that level, a nationally known corporate leader who is such a strong supporter of President Trump as Mike Lindell. I would say Mike Lindell is the only man that loves Trump and supports Trump as much as I do. And I mean, you guys know.
I think that's a fair assessment.
You guys know,
sure.
I mean, President Trump, and me, this cancel culture against him that is hit with Walmart. This was a direct target against Mike Lindell. Mike Lindell, even though he's been a strong supporter of Donald Trump, there's not been a new major change in his direction with anything in a long time. And this canceling by Walmart seems like out of the blue, because it is. The Democrats got Walmart to do this. Biden has a relationship with Walmart. He got Walmart to stop carrying a lot of guns and ammunition when he was vice president. Remember this? He was the gun czar, and he got them to do this. And Biden did that by getting the unions off Walmart's back. You used to hear about the unions harassing Walmart constantly. Biden got the unions off their back. Now they've gone to them, put him up against the wall, and said, hey, you're going to do this to Mike Lindell or the unions will be back. And they did it. And Mike Lindell has been able to stay in business without laying anyone off and continue the company because of you guys out there buying MyPillow products. So go to MyPillow.com and buy something.
Well, I saw they have a really cool thing. I didn't know he sold this. They have an adjustable bed frame, and the price is pretty good. Those are very expensive if you look at like Tempur-Pedic or the other ones. And it's the frame that adjusts, that you push a button and it moves. It could lift you up.
Yeah, there's a massive discount on that.
A lot of
with
people
the promo code
could
Kane.
use that if you have acid reflux.
Yeah.
If you need to sleep elevated for any reason, or if you get edema or any kind of foot issue, you can raise your legs if you need to sleep with that. And that's so much better than propping up. As great as MyPillow pillows are, I think it's better to have the bed that's adjustable. And it's a really good price with the promo code. So,
well, actually, the MyPillow adjustable bed is 30% off with the promo code Kane. And check out our promo code KANE, and you also get free shipping. Yeah. And Mike Lindell, he's heavily discounted his products.
I didn't know they had one of those.
No, I didn't. He's heavily discounted his products. You're able to buy these MyPillow products at wholesale. This is what these prices are what he was selling them to Walmart for.
Yeah,
you understand? So there's no more. There's no more middleman because all these major retailers will no longer carry his products because of his support for Trump. So go to MyPillow.com. The adjustable bed, 30% off and free shipping with the promo code Kane. Kane, and take advantage of all of the deals that you see there with our promo code Kane. Now, Biden was involved in some Zoom meeting with lady politicians talking about Roe v. Wade. And this woman you're going to hear now is talking to Biden on Zoom. This is the governor of New Mexico, and they're talking about abortion. They're talking about the Roe v. Wade decision. Listen.
A new recent Supreme Court decision limiting sovereignty has the same draconian, absolute, right, unfairness that is looking at being applied through the Supreme Court to them. So I think that may be yet another vehicle that we could expand that would protect women and particularly minority populations all across the country.
Okay. Now, this thing, if you've noticed, this Roe v. Wade decision, of course, the greatest thing about it is millions of babies will be born in this country that never would have been born over many, many years. And Donald Trump did that. And that's an awesome and great thing. A secondary great thing that's happened is these Democrats are coming out of the closet and people are seeing what they're advocating for. This is the governor of New Mexico, white woman. I've been hearing white Democrats for a week now since Roe v. Wade was Roe v. Wade overturned last Friday or 2 weeks ago?
I think it was a week. It's been
a week. Was it last Friday?
Yeah,
since Roe v. Wade was overturned by President Trump, think about this. How many white Democrats, men and women, how many white Democrats have you seen on television and online advocate for the need for Black women and Hispanic women to have abortions?
Yeah.
I don't hear Joy Reid and Tiffany Cross are exceptions. They're lunatics. But I haven't been hearing mainstream Black women and Hispanic women say that Black women need these abortions so bad. What I keep hearing are white Democrats talk about what a terrible thing it is that African American women and Hispanic women are not going to be able to get as many abortions. Why are these Democrats advocating for so many minority abortions? I think you can figure it out. Mm-hmm. They're racist. They think there's something terrible about being born Black and Hispanic, apparently. And it's really amazing to me when there was a book that was made into an HBO movie about 25 or 30 years ago called Fatherland. It took place in the 1960s. It was what would happen if Germany won the war. And then they had Man in the High Castle, which was a book that was made into an Amazon series where the Nazis won the war. And it was also in the 60s. What would the world be like if the Nazis had won? Mm-hmm. Well, thankfully, we never experienced that. But we're kind of getting a sense of what it would be like if the Nazis would have won. We see these Democrats advocating for the extermination of Black and Hispanic babies all day, every day, on every cable outlet for a week now, and no one calls them out on it. They're so racist, they don't even hear themselves. And Americans, not just minorities, all Americans have seen this. And I think over the past week, I really do believe this. I believe the Democrats, with their rhetoric like this New Mexico governor, I think they have woken up more liberals to become pro-life than the pro-life activists probably have done in the last 30 years.
You think so?
They look sick. And then it goes on after that.
I don't know if Democrats can see that, though.
Oh, yeah. I think people are shocked at how radical they are on the abortion.
I'm sure some people, I think some more middle-of-the-road people probably
are waking up. Yeah. So then they go on, and then Biden chimes in. Let's see what else they have. This is the New Mexico governor with Biden and others.
We stand ready to fight hard across the country and making sure that you have what you need in Congress so that we can codify Roe v. Wade, so that your states that stand as that safe haven and brick wall will continue to do that and support as many women and their families all across America who are going to need us as we fight to win this battle.
Well, Michelle, you're already standing up for folks in your neighboring states.
I mean, Biden can't even hardly understand him. I mean, he's mumbling. This is ridiculous.
It matters a lot. And one of the things that I'm finding is that we are in the process of looking at all the alternatives, including the sovereign nation question. And but there's going to be,
You know, this sovereignty thing, that's the second time. Sovereign nation, Biden just said in the New Mexico government, she said sovereignty. This is people talking about sovereign nation and sovereignty and individual sovereignty. These are like what extreme anti-government people typically talk about, right? These people that say they're non-affiliated, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's like very strange.
a lot more that's going to come through. I mean, I think people are going to be shocked when the first state that tries to arrest a woman for crossing a state line to get health services, and I don't think people believe that's going to happen, but it's going to happen, and it's going to telegraph to the whole country.
Yeah, well, they'll make sure it happens.
Well, there's another reason why he shouldn't be in office, that he's unfit, right? We're going to telegraph, like what Morse code, dash, dash, dash. I mean, this guy's so damn old. When people are going to get out the telegraph, does even exist anymore?
Well, he kind of let the cat out of the bag here, too. They're going to make sure that happens. They're going to make sure that women get arrested. And I think they make a lot of things happen to manipulate.
What they're going to try to do.
To get on the news and,
What they're going to try to do is, like Rosa Parks, when she got kicked off the bus, was a media event.
Yeah.
Rosa
you said that was staged, too.
There were many women who, in different parts of the South, the Democrat South, who sat in the front of the bus and got arrested. She was the one that got the publicity. Okay, there was one in Florida. Two black girls who were college students. Believe it or not, they were black girls, went to college back then. They got on the front of the bus in Tallahassee, Florida.
That's right, before her.
And before Rosa Parks, and the bus driver just drove the bus to the sheriff's office and had them arrested.
Yeah.
They did.
That was actually the first incident of that happening.
So what's going to what Kathy said is right on the money. So what the Democrats are going to do is they're going to get women to travel and get them to have abortions, not necessarily because they want an abortion, but because they're going to try to get an arrest made, and it's going to take.
They'll make it happen.
It's going to take more than one. They're going to have to do a bunch of test cases and then get someone. So
they'll have doctors arrested too.
Well, that should happen.
I agree, but they'll make sure it happens, and they'll make sure it's in the news. This is what they do. They make things occur to create news, to push things along. It's for the greater good. And so they'll have a doctor arrested. Maybe normally he wouldn't have been or whatever, but they'll make sure that happens. Yeah. And then boom, it's in the news and everybody's talking about it for 2 weeks.
That's right.
And everybody panics. And
these are devious people.
These are devious people, very manipulative. It's kind of like I was just watching this special about the Murdaugh murders on ID, and it's the guy owned a law firm, a personal injury. And what he would do is send people out to cause accidents, and then he would give them his business, reach out to them and say, I'll represent you.
Oh, my goodness.
And file a claim. But he's the one who caused the accident in the first place, and then he would go represent. That's what's happening here. They cause the problem, and then they come and try to rescue, and they say, okay, we're gonna fix the problem, even though they're the ones who caused the problem in the first place.
Well, see, this is something I've thought
manipulation
for a long time. Okay, and I think this is true. America is a conservative nation. Okay, very conservative. The minority viewpoint is the liberal viewpoint. It just seems to be much more popular than it is because they have such control over the media,
right?
Which the news, television, and everything. And what's happening is the Democrat Party is run by a bunch of old fossils like Biden and Pelosi, and even Liz Cheney. They don't understand that they're trying to do activism like it was done in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And during that era of liberal Democrat civil rights activism from Rosa Parks all the way through the Clinton era, you didn't have alternative media and you didn't have the internet. You had the nightly news, NBC, ABC, and CBS. You had the New York Times and the Washington Post, and every newspaper in the country just reprinted what was in the New York Times and the Washington Post so far as politics. You didn't have they had complete control of the narrative back in that whole half a century. They don't have the control of the narrative anymore because there's so many alternative news outlets and ways to get the message out through the internet and other things. You guys, I don't have to go through a Hannity list. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So they have these old fogies that still think it's 1992. They're probably getting advice from James Carville on how to get messaging out, and what they're doing looks like what it is. Set up and fake. Now, listen, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, there's a lot more to talk about. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Don't go anywhere. We will be back right after this.
The air we breathe matters so much. To combat all the allergens, bacteria, and viruses in the air, you need an air purifier that gets the job done. Breathing cleaner air starts with the Oxygen Air Purifier. This purifier does it all. It can greatly reduce mold, pollen, smoke, odor, allergens, and a lot more. Built with style and function in mind, the Oxygen Air Purifier looks good in any space and gets the job done. There are several models available, and they each come with a sensor to let you know the quality level of the air you are breathing. This is the quietest air purifier on the market. With true HEPA filtration, it removes 99.7% of particles from the air. Particles you don't want in your body. Protect yourself and your loved ones with an Oxygen Air Purifier. Visit OxygenUSA.com. That's OxygenUSA.com. From professional jockey and author Olivier Deleuze comes the book, The Perfect Athlete, available on Amazon. The author's 33 years of riding horses and winning over 1,400 races around the world. He knows that nutrition is the key to his success. He's put his decades of nutrition experience in this must-read book for all athletes at every level, whether you're a beginning cyclist, a hobbyist marathon runner, or a prize-winning racer. What you eat not only fuels you, but defines your athletic performance. When you read The Perfect Athlete, you will learn the foundations of sports nutrition. Learn what professional athletes eat to maintain their physique and change the way you think about food. Eat better and be the best. Order your copy of The Perfect Athlete from professional jockey and author Olivier Deleuze on Amazon. Available in Kindle, paperback, and audiobook. Everyone has a unique gift, and Mike and Diana, host of the One Life podcast, believe that most people don't know how to use their gifts or what they are. Mike and Diana want you to see things from a different perspective and be true to yourself. The One Life podcast unites the world through art, fashion, music, and film. It inspires, motivates, and creates positive energy, love, and compassion to all communities and creates an equal playing field for all. On the One Life podcast, they cover topics like building relationships, overcoming adversity, habits of healthy people, and much, much more. We only have one life to live. Be yourself and live your truth. Add the One Life podcast to your playlist. That's the number one NE Life. Available on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, and your favorite podcast platform.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast. Broadcasting from sunny South Florida, Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Now, you guys know Kathy and I live, very luckily, in Ron DeSantis' free Florida. And today, the so-called Don't Say Gay bill has gone into effect today. And I was reading this article in The Hill, and it's quite funny. Here's the headline. Florida's Don't Say Gay law takes effect today. Its impact is already being felt. Public school teachers under the law are barred from engaging in classroom instruction related to sexual orientation or gender identity. Now, first off, that is not true. The ban on talking about any type of sex or sexuality is only up to the third grade.
Right.
After third grade, you can do whatever you want. But let me read this article from The Hill. In early January, an 11th hour proposal filed in the Florida House of Representatives caught the eye of a state rep, a Democrat representing Orange County, which is where Disney World is, coincidentally.
Orlando.
Yeah.
That's where I was born, in Orange County.
The bill didn't seem insidious. It aimed to advance the involvement of parents in their schools and their children's schooling, something education advocates have been endorsing for years.
In fact, it's the parental rights bill. It
Yeah.
gives parents more rights over things being taught in the classroom on this particular issue.
That's right. But Smith, he's the state rep that they're talking about, read something that made his breath catch. I don't know, it's kind of a weird word. Made his breath catch. I've never heard
lost
that.
his breath for. I've never heard that phrase.
You know, these millennials, they can't speak, they can't write in cursive. They just
can't spell either.
They can't
I can't
write.
tell you how many articles I read with spelling errors.
The measure, officially titled Parental Rights in Education, would prohibit in certain grade levels, right, up until third grade, classroom discussion about sexual orientation or gender identity. Smith, who in 2016 became the state's first openly gay Latino lawmaker, said he wasn't exactly surprised that the bill had been introduced. It was just one of a number of bills that had been pre-filed before the legislative bent. In April, a Center for Disease Control and Prevention report found that rates of suicide in Florida had grown faster than much of the nation between 2019 and 2021. In its own reporting, the Florida health officials acknowledged that the state's LGBTQ plus youth face elevated rates of mental health challenges and suicidal thoughts. And let me tell you something. I know for a fact that is not true. Even though this is a conservative state, we have some of the gayest run cities and gayest populations in America. In fact, outside of San Francisco, the gayest. Miami, South Beach in Miami.
And Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale, Florida. These are cities that have openly gay mayors and city council members and very large gay populations. You know, the reason that these rates are higher in Florida as opposed to elsewhere is because they're doing more measuring of these things, because we have more gay activists in Florida than most states. And we have very active gay activists. So the gay activists, all they do is go around doing surveys and questioning people.
Well,
so,
plus they want to use the data against DeSantis.
Exactly.
So what they do is they come up with a narrative, a story, and then they go and manipulate and try to get information to back that up. And they alter, or it's very controlled how they get the data, and very selective. And then they find the data to back up what they're saying, and to go with their narrative of maligning him, making him seem anti-gay.
Which he's not.
And, they have Charlie Crist, who is running against him, who was a conservative, who was pro-life, and now he's a liberal and he's pro-choice. And, I'm sure he's behind a lot of this, too. I don't think he has a chance in hell.
And listen to this. As Florida's Don't Say Gay law takes effect, state officials who claim to champion liberty are limiting the freedoms of their fellow Americans. There have been reports of safe space stickers being taken down from classrooms, teachers being instructed not to wear rainbow clothing, LGBTQI plus teachers are being told to take down family photos of their husbands and wives, cherish family photos of, that are same sex. Okay, all this is our lives, and let me tell you why. Nothing's going on in the Florida schools. They're closed for the summer.
Yeah, they've been closed for a couple weeks.
Everything has been taken down from every classroom because the teachers are home for the summer.
Let me ask you, when you were in school,
this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I know, and I used to teach for a while. Did any teacher have personal pictures on their desk?
I can't remember one.
Never.
No.
Never.
I can't remember a single one.
When you're a teacher, you usually want to protect your family's privacy, and you go out of your way to not have pictures, and because kids, not so much in elementary school, but kids will sometimes use information they gather about your personal life against you. Believe me, I learned that teaching middle school. But when I was growing up in elementary school, going to that, I never, ever, ever had a teacher who had personal photos on their desk.
I have no recollection.
They never talked about
it.
In fact, when I was in 11th grade, my American history teacher married the vice principal. And it was a big scandal, a big deal in the school. But if anybody brought it up, boy, nope, we're not talking about that. Nope, that's my personal life. So I don't know any teacher that would discuss their personal life, who they were married to, even how many children they had. It should not be an issue. It is not important to academics. It has nothing to do with math, reading, or spelling. But these new young teachers are social justice warriors, and they see their job as a way to educate children on social justice. That is more important than spelling or arithmetic or reading in their mind, is raising children who are aware of gay rights, who are aware of transsexuals. To them, that is more significant for their development than learning comprehension.
There were two instances where kind of activism I saw take place when I was in school, okay? One of them was there was in the local newspaper here in Fort Lauderdale, there was a big gay pride parade, okay? And on the front page, they had a picture of the Gay Pride Parade, and there were two of the women teachers. One was a home ec teacher, one was a math teacher, next to each other holding up gay pride stuff, and they're on the front page of the newspaper. So everyone knew they were gay, but they never talked about it, and all the kids did, but they didn't talk about it. That was one thing of activism. That's when I was in high school. And then when I was in 8th grade, what year, how old are you in 8th grade? 14, 13?
I was 13
to 14. I think you turned
13.
14.
I didn't.
So I
Some
was,
kids
okay,
do, yeah.
so
13, 14.
I was in 8th grade probably around 1985. And there was a teacher that I had who was black. And I'm sure she still is black. Not was. I'm sure she still is. And Black History Month was a new thing, and there was no curriculum for it. So she did a thing during Black History Month. Every morning during the school announcements, she did a lesson over the intercom in Black history. Mm-hmm. And because there was nothing in the curriculum for Black History Month. And I know, but that's not, those are examples maybe of activism, but indirectly, the two lesbian teachers didn't tell us in school. They just happened to get into the newspaper, right?
Yeah, I don't know if they wanted to or if it was like, oh, we're going to make a statement here.
They probably didn't realize that they were going to be in the newspaper until they were.
I think there's just been a real shift in education, and I think that the teachers today are more concerned with raising socially conscious or teaching socially conscious issues and getting kids prepared. They're brainwashing kids to become social justice warriors and to become liberals in their little liberal army and to get used to the idea of a liberal world order. And that is what they have been directed to do. And now that it's been confirmed there is a liberal world order, all these other things don't seem so crazy. And when you talk about them, people might think, well, that's a conspiracy. Well, now, no, it's not a conspiracy. And the liberals love to tell you that's crazy, that's this, that's that. But everything we're thinking now has been confirmed. A lot of things have been confirmed that people would say are conspiracies. So I don't know if they just don't want to admit it or if they're in on it and they're trying to dismiss you. But education has definitely changed. Not for the better. And, I feel that when kids are in school, they should be learning academics only. They should not be learning anything about any of this other stuff that has nothing to do with enhancing their brain as far as mathematics and all this stuff. I don't understand when all this shift happened, but it's definitely...
It really kind of happened.
I didn't see this when I was teaching. I didn't see this kind of activism.
I'll tell you, okay, what
and I was at a pretty liberal school.
This activism that you see, like through Libs of TikTok, this has been going on for a few years. We just didn't see it
really bad
until TikTok exploded in popularity. And
I think Trump had a lot to do with it. Like I said, they've really amped it up. They're reacting to him.
Well, these young teachers that are the millennials, and some of them are the Gen Z because they're old enough now to be teachers. They're obsessed with TikTok, and they started going on TikTok, and then it started a trend. And then and so they kind of what happened, gays in this country were really in the closet until AIDS. AIDS brought gays out of the closet. Right. Okay, and
that's when things shifted because people started to sympathize. You had high profile people like Rock Hudson, Freddie Mercury getting AIDS, and that's I think when you really saw celebrities and people starting to be like, this is horrible.
Well, what happened
we should be a little more empathetic here.
That's right. What happened with AIDS, and I know this will sound weird to some people, and some people won't like this, but gay activism advanced because of AIDS, which obviously AIDS is a terrible thing.
I would agree with that.
And I've seen people that have died with AIDS and had it pretty hardcore before there was any treatments, and it's pretty
really bad.
In fact, I got my job working with Steve Kane. Steve Kane, when I first started working with Steve Kane, I wasn't on the air with Steve. I did do a talk show on the radio station, but I ran the board. I ran the controls for Steve. I wasn't on the air with him. And he had a guy who, it's called a board op. He had a board op who, same age as me, his name was Mike James, and he had full-blown age, same age as I am exactly. Almost, our birthdays were almost the same. And because he had AIDS, he wasn't very reliable. And what I mean by that is he was partying all the time. He didn't want to. He worked because you need money, but he wasn't wasting time because he felt like he didn't have a lot of time, and he wasn't reliable. And they just let him go because he never showed up to work. And I got the job. I was like, I had the shift before his, and he kept coming in late, and I would have to stay longer. And then once they fired him because he never came to work or showed up late if at all. And so this gay guy with full blown AIDS is how I in a way got my job with Steve Kane. And he has passed away, but he did live for many years after that. He lived for about 15 years after that, and he passed away. And he was a nice guy. I felt bad. So I've known other people that have had AIDS, so I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm saying. But what AIDS did to the gay community prior to AIDS, gays were it was viewed as a perversion. And what happened with
a lot of people still think it is.
Well, not like it used to be.
No, definitely not.
No, not like it. No. I mean that's a handful of people.
It was definitely the majority opinion.
Yeah, what happened with AIDS, before AIDS, gays were thought of as a perversion, and what AIDS did was turn the gays into a victim group that allowed the gay rights activism to be successful.
Yeah.
And I know that seems a bit strange, but if you think about it, I think you would agree. And so anyway,
and that can be very effective, is turning people into victims.
Yeah. So what's happened is we have total gay equality in this country in ways that I'm surprised happened. I mean, gay marriage, people don't even think about it anymore. It's really not a big deal anymore, and it used to be. And I know a lot of you remember when it used to be. So these teachers that are the TikTok generation, they've been around for a few years since the Obama era, and they're more and more and more. But TikTok did to them what AIDS did to gays in the 80s. They came out of the closet. Yeah. So we have these teachers and administrators at schools nationwide who have come out of the closet with their activism. And
that's why this parental right bill is a reaction to that. It's just like Roe v. Wade, where you played that clip of that liberal girl who said Roe v. Wade happened because of liberals, because they took things too far.
That's right.
With abortions at 9 months old. The same thing is with the parental rights bill, or the Don't Say Gay bill, is because DeSantis was reacting. He even mentioned, I think, libs of TikTok.
He did.
They were reacting to these liberal teachers that were using their classrooms for activism, very hardcore. And he said, this is not acceptable. If those teachers had never been on TikTok, this bill never would have happened. Because he didn't know about it. And they outed themselves. And he acted accordingly.
And I got to tell you, the woman behind Libs of TikTok kind of outed herself by doing interviews, and she's been doxxed since then. But she should have stayed anonymous. But the woman behind Libs of TikTok, she has not received her proper due.
I know she's getting pretty big now.
Libs, she's big and a celebrity, but I don't think people realize this parental rights bill in Florida is 100% because of Libs of TikTok. Governor Ron DeSantis, like Kathy said, was made aware of the problem that wasn't being seen because of Libs of TikTok.
Absolutely.
And the woman behind Libs of TikTok deserves not just your support, but she deserves a major award from these pro-family organizations, because what she did is absolutely amazing.
It is worth joining Twitter just to see her thread.
Libs of TikTok on Twitter, absolutely.
She has exposed so much of this crazy radical liberalism with these young people. It has been remarkable. These people look like they belong to the Charles Manson gang.
Yeah.
Half of them. They're that insane.
Yeah.
And they're completely brainwashed. They're all in on this woke agenda. And I've seen her post things where a girl was identifying as a guy. She had the short hair and everything. And somebody called her she, and she had a complete meltdown. She was hysterically crying.
Yeah.
I think it was one of her students. I think it was a teacher. And she said, I can't get them to call me he or they or them. And you can't control what people say, because you know, when you need to feel validated And that's what I think. This is a whole generation of young kids that need to be constantly validated by society. And that is a lot to do with social media. Social media gets you in that head of likes, dislikes, clicks, views. It gets you in the head of validation. I need to be validated. And they need to control people, how they think, how they feel, and how they talk to make them feel good.
That's exactly right.
And that is control. That is control when you say to somebody, don't call me that. Don't use that term because it makes me feel bad. Well, who the hell are you to tell me how to talk?
Exactly.
If I want to say he or she or whatever the hell I want to call you, that is my right as an American. I can say what, but now they're making it like punishable. They're actually making policy to stop these kinds of things. There's companies that actually have in their company culture that if you don't use a proper pronoun, you could be reprimanded. And there's actually people that want people arrested for things like this. It's insane. It is all about control. And the problem with it is you cannot please everybody. These people are never freaking happy, but it never ends. And your head is spinning because it's like, what do I do now? What do I say now? Every day it changes. Yep. There's new genders. There's the alphabet people, like the letter people, I call them. They add new letters to the LGBT. I mean, it's a never ending thing, but it's all about controlling your speech, how you see things, so they feel validated.
Now, listen, we're going to take our last break. Don't go anywhere. There's a lot more to talk about. We'll be back right after this quick break.
Are your pants falling down? There is a solution. Skinny Clip, available on Amazon and skinnyclip.com. Belts are bulky, uncomfortable, and expensive. Skinny Clip replaces the belt. Skinny Clip is an easy-to-use waistband tightener for men and women. It can easily work to tighten a belt on pants that are too loose. Skinny Clip tightens your pants without a belt. Maybe you lost some weight and you don't want to buy a new wardrobe. Maybe someone gave you clothes that you love, but they're a little too big. Skinny Clip can make them fit just right. Skinny Clip is a newly patented invention that holds up oversized pants easily and comfortably. It's easy to use too. Simply slide your waistband, twist, and hook. That's it. It works great on all types of fabric, skirts, slacks, jeans, and shorts. It's perfect for blue jeans that loosen up during the day. It's affordable and available in multiple colors. Your satisfaction is guaranteed. Skinny Clip, when you're skinny for yourself. Skinny Clip is available on Amazon. Just search Skinny Clip or visit the website skinnyclip.com. Are you a recent college graduate looking to launch an exciting career? A seasoned professional looking to make a career change? Or even a healthcare worker looking to increase your earning potential? The clinical research industry might just be the perfect fit for you. Clinical research is the area of healthcare science that studies and tests new medical innovations in people. At any given moment, there are over 80,000 clinical research positions available. However, over 70% of these positions don't get filled within 2 months or even at all. Simply put, while the pay is great and there are plenty of jobs available, there is a scarcity of qualified job candidates. And without the right training and connections, it is hard for candidates to enter this field. Vast Clinical Research is opening doors for its students to work in this amazing healthcare industry. Vast Clinical Research provides training and education programs for individuals looking to enter the intriguing career of clinical research. Utilizing research-based accelerated training, coupled with world-class career services, individuals can be trained in 4 to 6 weeks to begin their exciting new career. Whether you are ready to get started or looking to get more information, visit the website vastclinicalresearch.com or call 972-503-9388 to speak with a career counselor today. If you love tees, there's an Etsy shop you've got to check out. Yoli Brands on Etsy.com. That's YOLEY. Yoli Brands specialize in quality printed trending shirts. No matter what you're into or what you want to express, they have the t-shirt for it. Yoli Brands have motivational shirts, shirts for nurses, pet enthusiasts, shirts for teachers, nurses, car lovers, Americana, crypto, and that's just the beginning. The styles are modern and they're fun too. All the shirts are high quality and delivered right to your door. And enjoy free shipping. That's right, free shipping. Yoli Brands, YOLEY, on Etsy. Check them out today. Yoli Brands on Etsy.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast. Broadcasting from sunny South Florida, Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. And I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters for their support. You guys have really
awesome.
Helped us out a lot, and we are grateful to all of our Patreon supporters. If you would like to become a Patreon supporter, please do. There's a link in the description of this and every episode. You go to our Patreon page. It'll walk you through on how to become a Patreon supporter. All Patreon supporters have access to commercial-free editions of each and every podcast episode. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you on each and every episode. So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary, ETW, Chuck, Wesley, Dee, Pamela, Rick, and Nick. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you all for your support. And it is very much appreciated.
Yeah, and today I sent the Patreons a little bookmarks I made for the 4th of July. I've sent them wallpapers for the phones. Every once in a while I send you guys a little something.
Yeah.
And we do Patreon-only podcasts too regularly. So I made little bookmarks. I made 2. And they can print them, and you can print them on cardstock or whatever. You can use them, cut them out.
Oh, that's cool.
And one has the silhouette of the Statue of Liberty, and then one has got a Trump illustration. It's really cool. You can print it, use it for your book. If I still read books. I know Brian still reads books. We're all old school here. In fact, I just got 2 new books I'm reading. And or you can just print them and put them on the fridge or use them. So
that's cool.
I'm going to be doing some calendars soon, some digital calendars
Yeah.
that people can print, put up on their fridge. So we'd like to add a few special things for you guys.
That's
we really
right.
appreciate you, of course.
It is very, very much appreciated. All of you Patreon supporters, thank you so much. Now, today, we made the announcement on the radio about the huge expansion on the radio of Steve Kane and myself.
Very exciting.
And, you know,
My dad is so excited because you're going to be on the radio.
Where he lives.
Where he lives in Stewart.
Yeah.
He could tell all his friends.
And, you know, this is really exciting. You know, we have a new owner of our radio station who bought our radio station a few months ago. And he's a MAGA guy, okay?
He's awesome.
And he's expanding us on his other radio stations, which he's adding us in the mornings to 3 more FM radio stations that more than double our coverage area, more than double.
You're going to be in like 5 counties now.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of things going on that you'll learn about as things progress. Yeah. And the beginnings of the changes start on Monday, the 4th of July, but we're being added to these new radio stations on July 11th, which is a week from Monday. And
very exciting.
This is really amazing. And there's a lot of promotion that is going to go into promoting the new radio station and everything. And we're still on the radio stations we were, but we're being added to 3 new FM stations. And let me tell you, this is very exciting. I was talking after the show today. I was talking to the owner, and he was, you know, this area that we're moving into is
Martin County.
Well, but it's in West Palm Beach, up into Martin County. Now, Martin County, this is where Dan Bongino lives. It's Stewart, Florida, Fort Pierce, Florida, Port St. Lucie, Florida. It is the most pro-Trump part of America, and I mean that. I mean, a lot of times listeners
very
from around America will contact me, contact Kathy, and say, hey, I want to move to Florida. I live in Michigan. I live in California. Where should I look? And we always tell them Martin County, which is called the Treasure Coast of Florida. The reason it's called the Treasure Coast is Spanish treasures, when those ships would sink, would sometimes wash up on the beaches there. Yeah, there's lots of doubloons there. So we're actually going to be from Broward County all the way north through the Treasure Coast. And I was talking to the owner today. I said, that area is so. I don't think there's a liberal that lives in that area.
Maybe not.
And
if they do, they're in hiding.
There's a store that I don't want to say the name of the store right now, but there's a store that Kathy and I went to up there in that area a few years ago. This is when Obama was president, and they sell bumper stickers. And I bought this bumper sticker that was an acronym. It said, Obama, one big mistake America.
Yeah. They even had a huge Trump cutout.
They have they have Trump cut out there.
Take a picture with.
And I mean, and
we went to Denny's. This was in Stewart, where my dad lives.
This is in the new expanded area.
When my
that
dad moved there, he told me it's very conservative here. And we went to Denny's when Obama was president up there. And they had anti-Obama bumper stickers in the Denny's.
In a Denny's, yeah.
In the area where you pay. I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow.
And
everywhere. They're everywhere.
Yeah. So
awesome.
I'm so excited
heaven.
because, to be in this, the expansion and everything. And the show, we're now on our radio station format. We're now like a a mainstream radio station, which we haven't been before.
No. What else is really exciting is before it was like you and Steve were like a 2-man band, and now you got like a whole team behind you pushing and helping you and promoting you and wanting you to succeed, which is great. And the owner loves you guys, which is great because it could have gone the opposite way. Thank goodness it didn't.
Well, if a liberal had bought the radio station.
I don't think we'd be having this conversation. But it's also great for the callers and for the listeners and for people in the chat in the morning because there's going to be new people. And when you call in, you're going to have a whole new bunch of people listening to you, hearing what you have to say. And it's opening up a whole new thing, and it's getting more MAGA messaging out. It's helping Trump more.
Yeah.
It's going to be very pro-Trump, very pro-MAGA. It's going to help.
I can't go into
all of Southeast Florida.
I can't go into everything that's going to be happening, but
good stuff.
I was talking to the owner today after the show, and I said to him, I feel like I just got discovered. You know what I mean? Because you know what I mean? Like you get discovered. And I've been doing this for a long time, and it's very exciting. And all of you out there who, in whatever way you do support this show, whether you're a Patreon supporter or a YouTube member or just a loyal listener, all of you guys, please thank you so much.
Yes.
For all of your support for the program
because without you guys, it wouldn't matter at all. I mean,
it's
the
awesome.
Audience matters so much.
It's awesome, and so this is the media the last few days. If you've noticed what they've been doing, and I've been watching cable news a lot this week. I usually don't watch cable news too much, and I don't. There's a reason why I don't watch. I don't watch a lot of cable news. Well, one reason I don't watch a lot of cable news is the cable news cycle is too slow for me. I already know what has happened. That they're sometimes days and weeks behind where I'm at. I don't watch a lot of cable news. I don't listen to a lot of other shows, and the reason I do that is because I want to go through the news myself, decide for myself, and come up with my own opinions.
You don't want to be repeating what other people have said.
Well, if you listen, if you do what I do and you listen to a lot of radio shows or other podcasts, I do listen to some things, but not that much. I used to a lot, and it's not good. If you start watching a lot of commentators on television, talk shows on television that discuss the issues, listen to podcasts or radio shows, you find yourself doing what they're doing, and you find yourself not coming up with your own conclusions all the time. You're not even aware of this. I like to come up with my own thoughts and analysis on the issues.
Right. No, that's true.
But over this past week, I have watched more cable news than I've watched in years, and it's a lot of fun watching CNN and MSNBC right now. They're in a total panic. MSNBC and CNN are telling their viewers that the Democrats are not only going to lose, they're going to get destroyed in November. And that's how bad it is.
Yeah, they're getting themselves prepared.
They're preparing their viewers
and themselves
for one of the largest losses Democrats have ever experienced. And another thing they've been doing,
do they seem upset or distraught, or are they just kind of like
depressed,
they don't care?
Depressed, numb, depressed. And then the other thing, and I'm telling you, segment after segment about how the Democrats are going to get destroyed. They have no candidate for 2024. I mean, it's fun to watch. And the other thing, though, they've been doing, and they're doing this on Fox too, by the way, is endless segments trying to prop up the credibility of this Hutchinson that came up in front of the January 6th committee.
And Kinzinger came out and said that the Secret Service agent that disputed her likes to lie.
Yeah.
So they're trying to malign the Secret Service, and even Rachel Maddow said that they're a bunch of henchmen. But this girl who nobody's ever heard of, she's an infant, and she's not even a witness to these events, we're supposed to believe because she's 25 years old and she looks good in a suit.
You know, these Secret Service agents, I don't think what these Secret Service agents are doing is absolutely amazing. And I want to explain this because I don't think many people have realized what's going on here. Okay. So Hutchinson testified, remember at the beginning of the week, that President Trump did these stupid things that aren't even possible, right? You know, choked the Secret Service agent, tried to take control of the vehicle and all this stuff. You know the story. I don't have to go through it. Both Secret Service agents that she talked about said none of this happened. The one Secret Service agent that she said told her all this information said he never told her any of this, that she made the whole thing up. Totally debunked, right?
Yeah, by four agents.
And the agent, this is what's absolutely amazing. At least the one agent that was the driver is still with the Secret Service. These are not retired guys that are retired and have their pension set and all this stuff and are like pundits on Fox. The one guy, they transferred him to Tampa, Florida from Washington. They said a less stressful position, probably punishment because he debunked Hutchinson. They wanted him out of D.C.
Maybe.
But this guy, he is a current Secret Service agent. I want you to think about this now, who works for Biden. He works for the Biden administration. Biden's Secretary of Treasury is his direct boss, and the Secret Service is a small operation. So for this guy who is currently a Secret Service agent working for the Treasury Department under Joe Biden to come out and defend Donald Trump is an amazingly courageous act. And I don't think people realize the risk that he and these other guys are taking. And I think that goes even to more of their credibility.
And I think the more they push these guys and calling them liars is not a good idea, because I think these guys are not going to be quieted down and they're not going to be shut down.
That's right.
And I think it's a bad tactic for Adam Kinzinger to flat out call them lying.
Yeah.
Obviously, when the liberals are pushing something really hard, you know there's a reason they're doing it. When they're really trying to convince you of something, they're really hammering it in, and you hear everybody on the news saying the same thing over and over again, using the same lines, the same messaging. That's when the brainwashing is happening, okay? They're trying to convince you, but they're not going to be successful because nobody cares about these hearings. She has been totally debunked. She's a liar, so you can't believe anything she says or anything anybody says.
That's right.
For that matter. This is going to go nowhere. I really don't think they're going to indict Trump.
No.
Because you know why?
No.
Then it would have to go to a trial, and he would get to defend himself. Right? Isn't that what would happen? And they don't want the truth coming out. They don't want discovery. They don't want anything like that coming out, and Trump coming in with his attorneys saying, well, that's not what happened at all. So they are not going to indict him, I'm pretty sure.
No. Now, listen, we are all out of time for today, but thanks everyone for tuning in. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We will talk to you next time.
The air we breathe matters so much. To combat all the allergens, bacteria, and viruses in the air, you need an air purifier that gets the job done. Breathing cleaner air starts with the Oxygen Air Purifier. This purifier does it all. It can greatly reduce mold, pollen, smoke, odor, allergens, and a lot more. Built with style and function in mind, the Oxygen Air Purifier looks good in any space and gets the job done. There are several models available, and they each come with a sensor to let you know the quality level of the air you are breathing. This is the quietest air purifier on the market. With true HEPA filtration, it removes 99.7% of particles from the air. Particles you don't want in your body. Protect yourself and your loved ones with an Oxygen Air Purifier. Visit OxygenUSA.com. That's OxygenUSA.com.